Welcome to Liminal Breaks, the podcast where we explore what becomes possible when we pause, soften, and let deeper insight and intuition within us come back online. I'm Mike Parker, the founder of Liminal Coaching, and in this third episode, we're stepping into a different kind of space. Not just space for recovery or steadiness, but for vision. If the first episode was about finding ground, and the second about staying steady in the storm, then this one asks the further question, what now? What happens when the noise begins to fade, even just a little, and you notice something underneath? A sense of possibility, a tug towards something more meaningful, a memory perhaps of dreams you had before the overwhelm? That's what the night voyage is for. It's not about goal setting or planning. It's about reconnecting with the inner intelligence that doesn't shout, the part of you that knows what matters, even if you haven't put it into words yet. In this episode, we'll talk about the role of imagination in moving forward, how the ability to dream, to envision, often gets pushed aside in a crisis, but is one of the most essential tools for maintaining our well-being and developing the future, or at least making it better. Then we'll invite you into a 6-minute guided experience. The Night Voyage is a symbolic journey inward designed to help you listen for what wants to return, not in theory, but in felt, embodied experience. This isn't about striving. It's about remembering our deep inner sense of direction. There's a moment that sometimes comes after crisis, after burnout, after overwhelm, after you've steadied yourself just enough to breathe again. And it often comes with a question. Is this it? You've done the surviving, you've patched the cracks, but something inside you wants more than just stability. It wants meaning, direction, a sense of aliveness again. And that's where imagination comes in, not as escapism, but as a tool for re-entry, for navigating the uncertain territory beyond just coping. Most of us are taught that imagination is optional, childish, abstract even, but in reality, it's one of the most sophisticated systems we have for generating insight and possibility. When we allow ourselves to picture a different future, to visualize what we want clearly and with feeling, we're not just daydreaming. We're engaging deep cognitive networks that help us begin to move forward toward the vision, often in subtle but powerful ways. One key player in this is a region of the brain called the anterior cingulate cortex. Among other things, it's responsible for attention, emotional regulation, and coordinating resources across different parts of the brain. When we visualize an outcome vividly, especially in a relaxed state like daydream, the anterior cingulate effectively tags that imagined outcome as important. It begins gathering internal resources, memory, emotion, executive function, to support it. And here's the key. That priming doesn't stay in the abstract. It makes us more sensitive to more opportunities, more likely to notice patterns, ideas, or encounters that align with what we've imagined. It even leads us to take small, often unconscious actions that bring us closer to the outcome, because the system is now oriented towards it. That's not woo-woo, it's science. The right kind of magic, you might say. And it's why the ability to dream, to imagine something better, isn't indulgent. It's essential, especially after a period of chronic stress or collapse, when the mind has narrowed and the body has braced. The moment we'll share in this episode, The Night Voyage, is designed to support that. It invites you to drift inward into a symbolic space where vision, memory, and longing can begin to stir again and show us new possibilities. It's not about forcing anything. It's about opening the door, because sometimes the way forward doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from remembering what you already knew before it got too loud to hear. So let's talk about what the night voyage actually is and why we created it. This isn't a motivational exercise. It's not a visualization of success in the traditional sense. It's a guided symbolic journey designed to let something deeper come through, something older, perhaps, or more true. In times of stress or collapse, we tend to narrow, and that narrowing is protective. It helps us survive, but it also cuts us off from the parts of ourselves that hold memory, intuition, vision, and meaning. The night voyage is an invitation to reconnect with those parts, not by forcing insight, but by softening into a state where they can speak again. The moment works by gently dropping you into a semi-liminal state, somewhere between waking focus and drifting imagination. The language is slow and rhythmic. The imagery is carefully chosen, but never literal. You're not being told what to feel or see. You're being invited to enter a space where your own mind can begin to reorganize. From a neurological perspective, it's a shift in network dominance as your sympathetic nervous system, the stress response, eases off. The default mode network becomes more active, and that's the network which is responsible for introspection, memory processing, and creative synthesis. It's also where much of our emotional healing and inner sense-making occurs. And because you're not being asked to do anything, your anterior cingulate, the part of your brain we mentioned earlier, starts tracking what's meaningful, quietly gathering resources to support whatever direction it begins to emerge. What makes the night voyage different from many common meditation practices is that it doesn't ask for stillness or emptiness. It doesn't ask you to clear your mind or concentrate. Instead, it offers you a symbolic landscape, something your subconscious can recognize, inhabit, and move through at its own pace. In this case, the landscape is nocturnal. It's a quiet journey through a starry night. There are no instructions, no milestones, just a subtle arc from setting out to sensing, to returning with something changed. You may feel calmer after. You may feel stirred, or you may just notice a slight shift in mood, in attention, in what you're drawn to next. And that's the beauty of this kind of work. The effects often unfold quietly later on. You might find yourself making a different decision, saying yes to something you'd normally avoid, remembering something important that had been buried under noise. And that's how this moment does its work. Not by overriding your defences, but by creating a space they don't need to guard. The night voyage is one of our most spacious practices. It's about listening inward, not for answers, but for resonance, for the felt sense of something aligning or calling. And just like before, there's nothing you need to do. You don't need to visualize perfectly. You don't need to stay focused. In fact, drifting is part of the process. It's best to do this with headphones somewhere quiet where you can completely relax. So if you need to, press pause now and find a quiet corner somewhere. And if there's a positive outcome you've already been thinking about, something you hope for, something that feels right, you can simply bring that to mind gently as you begin. It doesn't need to be detailed or fixed, just enough to give your system a direction of travel. That simple act of priming can help your deeper mind begin to orient and gather resources towards it, even as you drift. Then just allow the words to guide you through. Trust what surfaces, or don't, that's allowed too. Just rest in the rhythm. Let yourself be carried. This is a journey, but not one you have to plan or control. You're not steering. You're being carried. And if you have a quiet hope or a direction you've been sensing, even something small, you might want to gently bring that to mind now. not to hold tightly, but just enough to give the voyage a thread to follow. As we begin, notice your body. No need to adjust or improve. Just sense what's there. Are your shoulders high? Is your breath shallow? Is there warmth or tightness anywhere? Let yourself be like the sea under a night sky, holding waves and stillness at the same time. Nothing needs to be forced. Just allowing. You don't need to visualize perfectly. You don't need to understand. You don't even need to stay awake. The moment will do what it needs to. Let it meet you wherever you are. It isn't a meditation or a tool. It's a moment, a short symbolic portal to a part of you that's already there, just beneath the surface. Begin by relaxing every single muscle as much as you can. Take a deep, relaxed, easy breath in, breathing from your stomach. Slowly exhale and let all tension, stress, and anxiety just drift away from you completely. There's nothing to do. Just follow the drift. You find yourself now in a small boat crossing a dark, silent sea, gliding smoothly across still water. You don't need to steer. A silent, hooded figure is sailing the boat, but you don't feel at all afraid, and you're carried along. With each breath, you let something go, not just the known burdens, but others too, layers that peel away as you drift into deeper silence. Now you arrive at an island in the pre-dawn half-light. The boat comes alongside a jetty. You step out and follow the path at the end of the jetty. It's cool and quiet. The path winds up the hill in the centre of the island until you come to a door made of oak timbers bound with iron, set into the rock of the hill. You knock and the door swings open, letting you into a tunnel lit by light wells from above. You know as you walk down the tunnel that you are walking into the centre of yourself. There are stone walls and stillness. And then you come into a chamber. It is lit by the soft golden light of dawn streaming through a window in the wall of the chamber. In the centre, a carved wooden chair. You sit easily. At your side, a glass plate rests, and as you move your hand over it, images begin to appear before you on the floor. They come from you, and you realize you can control the content. You can project images and events from the past of your own life and of others as well. You can tune into the sweep of history and the great macro events that have shaped the world in which we live. You can also create strong and beautiful scenes of what can and what will be. You decide now to build images and events of how the future will be. Now you are free to build them according to your own true will, no longer bound by anxiety or pain or panic from the past. You can see the scenarios now of how the next years can unfold with more grace, power, and equanimity, as all fear and anxiety drop into perspective as the small fraction of your totality that they really are. Just allow those images and scenarios to play before you now, seeing how the new and different way of working with life takes shape. And now it's time to return. But you bring a new future with you. You can't go back to where you were because everything has changed. So you walk forward now into your own unfolding. And as you return, imagine yourself sitting. You breathe out fully, turn one palm upward in your lap. You press your big toe on the opposite side into the floor and inhale easily and deeply. Breathing out, you resume your normal rhythm of breathing. Then let your awareness return gently to your breath, your body, the space around you, drifting back from the chamber now, taking all the time you need. Carrying a new balance, a steadier rhythm, just drifting peacefully and easily back to ordinary waking, at your own pace in your own time, feeling grounded, spacious, and quietly energized. And as you come out of the moment, just take a few breaths for yourself. There's no rush, no need to move straight away. Let the quietness settle in. Give your mind time to thread together whatever it needs to. These kinds of practices often do their real work after the words end. It might show up as a shift in attention, a new sense of permission, or a feeling that something's turned quietly back on inside. The night voyage isn't about solving problems. It's about remembering what you carry, what you've always carried, even if it's been pushed out of reach. When we spend a long time in survival mode, the deeper layers of vision and direction can seem to vanish. But they don't really. They wait. And often it only takes a little spaciousness for them to begin returning. That's why it's worth noticing what surfaced for you just now. Maybe it was a memory. Maybe it was a feeling you couldn't name but somehow recognized. Maybe it was just a sense of stillness that felt unfamiliar in a good way. Naming those shifts, even to yourself, can help. They help the experience weave itself into your everyday awareness, so it doesn't stay sealed off in a separate moment. You don't have to do anything big. Just pay attention to what unfolds. The changes that last often start subtly. A slightly different choice, a softer inner tone, a renewed sense of direction you didn't know you were missing. And if this practice resonates, you might try returning to it, not just when you feel lost, but when you sense that you're ready for what comes next. Or share it with someone who's coming out of a hard season, someone who's not just trying to survive, but ready to imagine again. You never know what door a little spaciousness might open for someone else. Take another breath. You've already started to return. And that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this sequence of moments from Liminal Coaching. You can catch the other episodes on HCD, and our contact details are in the show notes. So I just want to thank you so much for listening and for being here, and hope to see you again. Bye-bye for now.